There's a moment in life when the smallest gesture can reveal the deepest truths. It happened to me on my birthday when my son sent me a gift. It was something that should have been a symbol of love, a sign of respect. But little did he know, that gift would be the catalyst for something far bigger, something that would change everything. I'd been waiting for this day. It's a milestone year, my 50th birthday. When you get to a certain age, birthdays don't feel as exciting. The years seem to blend together. But this year felt different. My son, whom I had always cherished, had grown distant over time. I wondered if he remembered or even cared. But when the package arrived at my door, I was stunned. A bottle of whiskey, a fine, expensive bottle, a gesture that seemed thoughtful at first glance. But as I stared at the gift, something gnawed at me, a feeling I couldn't shake. It wasn't just whiskey, it was a message I had to decode. I remember the day my son was born like it was yesterday. The moment I first held him in my arms, his tiny hand gripping my finger, I knew life would never be the same. The feeling was overwhelming, pure joy, mixed with a deep sense of responsibility. He was my pride, my legacy. All my dreams, all my efforts, they now centered on him. The future was no longer just about me, it was about him. I was determined to give him the best life possible. I sacrificed a lot for him. My own ambitions, the things I wanted to achieve, took a back seat. I dedicated my every waking moment to making sure he had everything he needed, to being the father I wished I had growing up. Every penny I earned, every hour I worked was for him, for his future, for the life I wanted him to have. But somewhere along the way, things changed. At first, it was subtle, little shifts that seemed insignificant at the time. The phone calls became less frequent. The visits stopped being as regular. The long talks we used to have, where I'd listen to him share his hopes, his dreams, his struggles, those conversations became fewer and fewer. It was like a slow, gradual fade. At first I told myself he was just busy. I told myself he had his own life to live now. He was growing up, moving on, and that's how things were supposed to be. But as time passed, I couldn't ignore it anymore. The distance between us wasn't just physical. It was emotional. It wasn't just that he was preoccupied with life, it was something deeper, something unspoken. Something that made me wonder if he valued me at all. He didn't call on holidays. He didn't show up for birthdays. He didn't share his achievements with me the way he used to. When I reached out to him, there was always an excuse, always something that kept him too busy. I began to feel a hollow ache in my chest. I tried to ignore it at first. I tried to push the thoughts aside, thinking that maybe it was just a phase. Maybe he was going through something, and eventually he would come back to me. I held on to that hope like a lifeline, but deep down I knew. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that he wasn't just busy, that there was something more. A betrayal, maybe. Not in the way we think of betrayal, but a betrayal of trust, of the bond we used to have. It was as though I had become irrelevant in his life, a figure in the background of his world, someone he used to care about, but now not so much. And I kept quiet. I stayed silent, hoping that one day things would return to normal, that we would reconnect, like we used to. I believed that things could change, that the love we once shared, the closeness we had, would come back. But with every passing year, I felt that hope slip further away. Then one day I received a gift, a bottle of whiskey, and I couldn't help but wonder, was this really a gift of love? Or was it a symbol of the distance that had grown between us? A final token of a relationship that had fallen apart, one piece at a time. That night I poured myself a drink from that very bottle he had sent. The whiskey was smooth, but my mind was anything but. Was it really a gift of love? Or was there something else beneath the surface? I took the bottle of whiskey into my hands, turning it over, looking at the label, feeling the weight of it. It was nice, expensive, high-end. Not the kind of gift you send just out of obligation. But what did it really mean? I'd spoken to my son a few times recently, and there had been a strange coldness in his voice. The way he spoke, almost like he was trying to keep a distance. When I opened the gift, I wondered if he was trying to make up for something, or was it an attempt to push me out of his life gently, through gifts? I couldn't tell. But as I stared at that bottle, I made a decision. If he thought that a bottle of whiskey could smooth over the years of neglect, he was sorely mistaken. He needed to understand that his actions had consequences. And maybe this bottle, this gift, was the perfect tool for teaching him a lesson. I thought about his father-in-law. The man had always been a bit of a show-off, always bragging about his collection of rare whiskeys. Every time I'd seen him, there was that smug look in his eyes as he spoke about his prized bottles, as if to say, "Look at me. Look at what I have that you don't." The competition between us had been unspoken, but it was there. It was always there, a constant undercurrent whenever we interacted. He always made it clear that he was the one who had it all figured out, the one who could provide for my son in ways I couldn't. In a twisted way, it had always bothered me, but I had let it go. I focused on my own family, on my son, and on being the best father I could be. But now that very competition would serve a different purpose. When I thought about it, it was clear. My son had sent me this bottle of whiskey, but he had no idea what it would set in motion. I wasn't the one who would drink it. No, I would pass it on to his father-in-law. The very man who had been fueling the emotional distance between us, the one who had become more of a father figure to my son than I had been in recent years. I knew his father-in-law loved whiskey, and I knew that if he knew the bottle had come from me, it would instantly elevate his opinion of me. Look what he sent me. He must really value our relationship. It would put him on a pedestal in my son's eyes, and that was exactly what I needed. So that night I picked up the phone. I dialed the number without hesitation. When he picked up, I could hear the faint hint of surprise in his voice. "Hello?" "Hey, it's me," I said, trying to sound casual. "I've got something for you. Thought you might appreciate it. A little gift." There was a long pause. I could hear him trying to process what I'd said. "A gift?" he asked, a hint of curiosity in his voice. "From you?" I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Yeah, I know you've always enjoyed the finer things. Thought this might be something you'd like." Another beat of silence, and then he spoke, his tone shifting, suddenly warmer. "Well, I'm intrigued." "What is it?" I didn't waste time. "A bottle of whiskey. The good stuff. You know, the kind you like. I thought you might appreciate it." There was a pause, and then he let out a low laugh. "You're kidding. A bottle of whiskey from you? Well, I'll be damned." I could feel the power in that moment. I knew what he was thinking. I had just given him something he could show off, something that would add to his collection. But little did he know this wasn't just about the whiskey. It wasn't about the gift at all. It was about making my son feel, making him confront the way he had neglected me, making him realize that there were consequences for his actions. "I'll bring it over tomorrow," I said, finalizing the deal. "I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I'll leave it with you." "Sounds good. Thanks," he replied, the gratitude in his voice unmistakable. I hung up the phone, the plan set in motion. I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. The pieces were falling into place. It wasn't about the whiskey. It wasn't about the gift. It was about making my son see. It was about showing him the cost of taking me for granted. This bottle was no longer just a birthday gift. It was the key to opening his eyes, to showing him the cost of taking me for granted,